Hey Team Avatar, this is Captain Yeet here for you for the Avatar Last Airbender episode review. This is going to be Avatar Last Airbender Season 1, Episode 19, titled The Sages of the North, Part 1, Redo, Book 1, Water. So, let's get into it. And when this episode gets uploaded, I'll be in Boston. So, hey, Boston me. I'm in Boston finally. It's been a couple years since the last time I've been back in my old town. I'm back in Boston. Also, as you can see, I put my old two posters up because they kind of correlate to the episode that we're doing today and next week because we got the water versus fire. I actually painted that myself. It took me a while. Well, I painted both of these. They look like a picture. I'll explain that later on. Well, at the end of the episode, I'll explain why it looks like a picture. But I actually painted both of those. That took me forever, but it turned out good. The water and the fire fist, and that took me. I painted that too. It looked like a picture, but like I said, I'll explain that at the end of the episode. So let's get into it. So the beginning of the episode starts off with a theme song. We get a bit of a recap specifically of last week, and then we get into the actual episode. The actual episode starts off with Katara sparring with somebody inside of Master Paku's class, and she beats him pretty easily. She beats him really good. And throughout this episode, Katara has like this yellow dot on her like outfit. Does he always have that? I don't know if that's something specific like Paku gave her because she's in the class or what, but I don't really remember the yellow dot on her like her yeah, it's like on her chest area. Does he always have that? That's like giving me like the Mandela effect. I really don't remember like the yellow dot there. But after she does that, Paku starts to praise her a lot because she has advanced really, really quickly. She's probably like the most experienced student that he's ever taught, which is funny because he has, the avatar in his classroom. And it's also kind of nice based on how he was acting last week. And now here, he's giving her a lot of praise. Now, what's the time frame between last week's episode and this week's episode? It makes it seem like it's been maybe a week or two, maybe a bit longer because Katara has advanced so quickly. But I mean, quickly does mean quickly, so maybe it's only been a few days. Because we did see that the Fire Nation do come here this episode, and they weren't like too far away. We don't really know the distance, but they weren't like too far away last week when they were coming in with their boat. So I'm gonna say a few days to just about a week. Maybe yeah. Since last episode of this, I'm gonna say a few days to maybe about a week. So after that happened, we cut over to Aang goofing off with Momo. Now, when he does that, he goes, Great Avatar. Master Paku says, Hey, Great Avatar, would you want to spar with Katara since it seems like you mastered waterbending since you're goofing around with your little pet? Now, Aang says, Well, I wouldn't say mastered, but I can do this. And he grabs a bunch of snow and he makes himself he makes himself into a snowman. Also, Master Paku does ask all his other students would they like to challenge Katara again. No. They are all on the ground, just battered and bruised. They do not want to fight Katara again. But that was kind of funny whenever Aang turned himself into a snowman. I didn't even realize that. Even Katara was kind of upset at Aang, like, "What are you doing? Like, you look ridiculous." We go over to Sokka and Princess Yue, and they're walking and talking. And Princess Yue is really surprised about the Southern Water Tribe. She goes, "What? You don't have like really big, ice like palaces and stuff like that?" Sokka goes, "No, I live in an iceberg, or I live in an ice cube. It's not exactly fancy." And she starts to laugh, but then she says, this feels wrong." What? I'm engaged. I'm supposed to get married, and we're doing something wrong. He goes, We're just walking and talking as friends. You know what you need? You need to meet my buddy Appa. Who's Appa? We jump cut over to them to meet up with Appa. Appa sees Sokka and is really happy, which is really sweet. He jumps on top of Sokka and starts to lick him. And then eventually they get on top of Appa and he's going to take her for a sky ride. It's also really sweet that whenever they get on top of Appa, she goes, Okay, so how does this work? He goes, Yep, yep. And he makes it really smug. He makes it really smug and happy face, like, oh yeah, she gonna love this. She does. Oh yeah. All the girls love the opera ride. Oh yeah, she gonna love with this. So they go sky high, they fly around for a little bit. She's amazed that Sokka does this every day, and she starts to blush looking at Sokka. And they're about to kiss. Like they get super close to kissing, but Sokka kind of leans to the side. He goes, "Oh, it's really cool up here." But then out of nowhere, a bunch of ash and soot start to cover the skies, and I mean this junk is covering the skies. It is everywhere. It starts to go over all of them, and it starts to pan over to the village, well not the village, but the Water Nation tribe, the Northern Water tribe, and it starts to go over there. And there's so much of it, it starts to like contaminate the water. Now, it's not like a huge big deal to where for the rest of the episode they're like, "Oh my goodness, the water is contaminated." But we do see like a fountain, and the fountain goes from like really clear water, and then the water turns like completely black. Like there's so much of this stuff, it just goes black, and it's pretty bad. I mean, look at this. There's a ton. I mean, there's a ton of this junk just going everywhere. I mean, it does make sense because we got the armada coming in, but it's just crazy how much of it is just going everywhere. So then we go over to Sokka landing, and he explains to Princess Yue what it is. It's Ash and Short. That means the Fire Nation are nearby. He remembered this stuff from fighting the Fire Nation all the way up to here, and also whenever the Fire Nation came to his hometown. And by the looks of this stuff, there's a lot of them. So then we go over to Admiral Zhao, and he with Uncle Iroh, and Admiral Zhao goes, "Aren't you ready to make history?" The great Admiral Zhao was able to take down the last pillar of the Water Nation. Now, part of me was thinking, what does he mean by that? Because we know that Sokka's Water Nation tribe, they're still up and running, but I mean, it is kind of a rinky-dink little tribe. It's not exactly what the Northern Water tribe is. I guess the Fire Nation don't really see it as like something to take down, like to exterminate. But I mean, I guess they kind of exterminated it since they don't really have any waterbenders there besides from Katara, obviously. But yeah, I guess they don't really see it like that. But he goes, "Aren't you ready to make history for the great Admiral Zhao to take it down?" Now, Uncle Iroh tells them to be careful. History isn't always kind to the people that's in it. He should know. Now, not Uncle Iroh, Admiral Zhao, he says that, "Yes, I know, but this isn't going to be like your great blunder at Ba Sing Se." Uncle Iroh says, "For your sake, I hope not." And that had me thinking, like, I wonder what happened to Uncle Iroh after it happened. It wasn't like it was a bad defeat. I mean, Uncle Iroh said in like a past episode, him and his men fought for weeks to almost months to get into Ba Sing Se. They weren't able to do it, but they fought for a long, long time. So it wasn't like it was a easy defeat for them. And like they fought for a good minute. But I wonder what his brother did. His brother didn't kick him out. And I always wondered that too. Uncle Iroh clearly looks way older than his brother because his brother doesn't even have gray hair when we finally get to see Ozai. So he's older. So why wasn't he the king of the Fire Nation? I mean, I guess Uncle Iroh didn't want it, but that's always kind of not bothered me, but I always kind of thought about that. But I wonder what happened to Uncle Iroh after that. He wasn't kicked at the Fire Nation like Zuko was, and people still talk about him highly, so it wasn't like he was shamed for it. So, I mean, he makes it sound like something bad happened, like, for your sake, I hope not. Or maybe because he knows, like, hey, you're not the Fire Nation, I mean, you're not the Fire Lord's brother. I mean, even if you were family, that doesn't really help you out much. I mean, look at Zuko. But still, you're not the brother. So, you mess up this, it's gonna be pretty bad. And so we go over to Uncle Iroh talking to Zuko, and he asks Zuko if he has a plan yet because we're getting pretty close to the Water Tribe. He says he's working on it. We go back over to Sokka, and this part was always a little wonky to me. So Sokka's holding Princess Yue's hand, and he's running up to the Water Palace, right? Now everybody's running up to the Water Palace, so they can have a really big meeting on what to do because the Fire Nation's coming in. Now C goes, "Sokka, I can't see you anymore." He goes, "What do you mean? We're just friends." "No, I like you too much for us to just be friends. I'm supposed to be engaged. Well, not supposed to be engaged. She is engaged. I'm supposed to get married. I can't see you anymore." And she runs away. My only thing is this like the kind of the perfect? This isn't really a good moment to do this kind of conversation. I mean, he was only really holding your hand. I mean, slightly because he does like you, but like I said, everybody's running into the palace. Everybody's getting inside for this meeting. So why are you doing this now? I mean, I guess since this war's about to happen, if I don't say this now, it won't be a good time to say it. But still, like we gotta get inside. Like where are you going? We gotta get inside. We go back over to the chief, and he's inside the palace talking to everybody. And when he's talking, he gives a not a speech, but it's kind of a nice little thing he's doing to where obviously he's getting all of his people prepared for war. The day that they dread is finally upon us, to where they have to fight against the Fire Nation. He says that he feels really sad right now because a lot of the men and women that he sees in the palace today, he might not see tomorrow because they're about to fight the Fire Nation, which is kind of hard, man. I mean, not hard. What's the word? Tough. It's kind of tough and sad that he says this, but I mean, it's true. They're about to fight a huge armada, so yeah, a lot of people that he sees right now, he might not be able to see tomorrow. So he calls upon the great moon spirit and the great ocean spirit to give them strength. Then he also says he has a secret side mission that he needs some young people for. So please stand up if you want to. But this mission is really dangerous. So if you do this, you might not come back. Sokka stands up and he agrees to it, and a bunch of other people do. And he tells them to come forth to me so I can give you my mark. And he puts his hand in some red paint and gives him like a little watermark marking on the head. And as soon as Sokka gets his, he looks back at Princess Yue. They glance at each other. She starts to cry. It'll be pan outside. And when we're outside, we see Aang looking at the ocean, and the chief comes in, and he goes, "The silence before battle is always so dreadful." Aang says, I wasn't there for my people 100 years ago when the Fire Nation attacked. I'm gonna make a difference here. And then he stands up, and this is not the exact same scene from the opening, but it recreates it to whenever he stands up and the camera pans like behind him, and then it goes upward. Like that's the exact same scene that we see right here, which is pretty cool. It is really cool. I do like that. See, and you can even hear the music. Like, it's pretty nice. It's a serious scene, but it's pretty nice. So then we go over to all the warriors of this Water Nation tribe, and everybody's getting ready for battle. And then we see one Fire Nation ship. It comes in. It's not exactly at the gigantic gate, but it's far enough in the distance to where you can kind of see it. And it starts to throw out those gigantic fire cannonballs, and it throws a few out, and some of them go inside the actual palace. Well, not palace, but what's the word? City. That's the word. Some of them fall into the city and destroy some buildings. Some of them hit the gigantic wall that's in front of the city. And then Aang gets on top of Appa and flies over there. Katara does get buried in some snow, but she's able to push herself out. And now Aang flies over to the boat, gets on top of it, and he destroys just about all of like the well, they're not cannons. They're like a pulley system. Well, what's the word? Like a slingshot. They're like these mechanical slingshots that's like throwing like gigantic fireball cannon things. He gets on top of there. He's like goofing around, dodging the attacks from the Fire Nation soldiers, and he's messing them up to where one like a few Fire Nation soldiers try to hit him with a sledgehammer. They miss Aang and they dent the machine, and then Aang shoots a bunch of air into the dent and it explodes. We see Aang tie two together, and then he activates one and it grabs the other machine and slams it into the boat. So he's like doing a bunch of when I say goofy stuff, it's not goofy, but Aang like he has a big old smile on his face. He's jumping around, messing up their whole thing. Now there's one cool scene. We get this really really big guy, and he has two sledgehammers tied up to some chains, and he's like spinning them around like nunchucks, which is kind of crazy. I mean, you're able to sling around the sledgehammers like the nunchucks. Is that not wild? But and he even ties up Aang. Now Aang gets saved by Appa. Appa flies in, grabs the really big guy, throws him into the ocean, and then out of nowhere we see this like ice spike pierce the boat. Aang jumps back on top of Appa and flies upwards, and we see a bunch of water benders on boats like we saw last week, and they bend a bunch of ice up to put the boat into the air, and it looks just like the boat from the Southern Tribe. Remember that one Fire Nation boat that they weren't supposed to go onto back in Katara's village? It looks just like that. So that's probably what the waterbenders did back then, which is kind of cool. But what isn't cool is whenever Aang flies all the way upwards, then we see the whole armada. They kind of just sent this one boat ahead just to do a little bit of damage, and then the rest of the boats are coming in. And like we saw last week, I mean, there's just a ton. I mean, ooh, there are a ton of these jokers. I can't count them, but at least 50. I mean, I guess I could count them, but it's going to be a lot more than what's on screen right now. But there's at least like 50 plus boats, which is pretty bad. I mean, that is bad, boy. We go over to the chief talking to all the men that get up for the secret mission, and he says that their mission, they're going to infiltrate the Fire Nation by wearing these Fire Nation uniforms that they were able to confiscate from some Fire Nation soldiers that they beat a little while ago. Now, when he says a little while ago, he means a lot ago, because whenever this guy named Han walks out wearing one of the uniform, Sokka starts to laugh. They're like, "What's so funny? That's not what the Fire Nation wears now. I mean, look what he's wearing. These are so outdated." Sokka goes, "How long ago did you get these uniforms? Like 100 years ago?" The chief goes, 85. These jokers, 85 years ago. And it's kind of wild because you would think, wouldn't they know to change up how it looks so it wouldn't be so outdated? But no, like Zai was saying, they don't really go after this water tribe because of how great the water tribe is. That's why they literally need a whole armada to even break into it. So they don't even really mess with this water tribe. And he even said it's been so long since they even fought the Fire Nation because they don't really mess with it. So it does make sense that they would. I mean, probably in the back of their minds, they do think they might have updated the outfits, but this is all they know and this is all they have. So I mean, this is what they have to work with. So whenever Sokka starts to laugh at it, Sokka walks up, he starts to explain exactly what the outfit looks like, and the chief tells Sokka to tell all the information that he knows about the Fire Nation to Han, and he tells Han to give Sokka his utmost respect because he expects nothing less than his from his future son-in-law. He goes, "What? You're marrying Princess Yue?" "Yeah, what of it?" "Nothing." Now, one scene was really funny right before I continue because when this whole scene was going on with Sokka explaining everything, the chief goes, "Okay, now that we know how the Fire Nation outfits look, now all we have to do is figure out who their commanding officer is." Sokka, Exam. Admiral Zal, like he knows that instantly. Now, when Han was getting kind of big on Sokka for no reason, he was like, "Can we even trust him?" No, the king just says that he is from our sister tribe, so we should trust him. He doesn't. He sort of said. I mean, he should say that too, but he probably should have also say. I mean, Sokka has been fighting the Fire Nation his whole journey to this tribe, so he would know a thing or two. He doesn't say that, but that would have been a good thing to say. After that happened, we go over to Admiral Zhao, Uncle Iroh. Now their boats are somewhat far away from the water nation. Because as we can see here, their boats are a good distance away to where they're not really that close, but you can still see them in the distance. But they have those cannonballs, so they've just been bombarding them all day with the cannonballs. But they're getting closer and closer by the hour. Now Uncle Iroh comes out and he tells Zhao, it's almost nightfall and it's almost a full moon. We should take a break. We should just halt our attack for right now because waterbenders get a little bit of a boost in strength with the full moon or with the moon in general. Zal says yes, he knows. He's working on the whole moon problem, but for now, you're right. We should just stop right now. And they pull out the anchors and they stop. Now, during nightfall, whenever everybody gets some rest, yes, I know the waterbenders are really tired because they've been deflecting these fireballs all day. But I mean, if you send a couple boats out there and do the whole, ice spike into the boat, they could take a couple out. They're not gonna be able to take out the whole armada because one, there's so many. Number two, they're obviously going to have some firebenders on watch duty to see just in case they try to pull that. But they should be able to take out a few boats. It's not going to really matter in the grand scheme. Well, I mean, it is. I mean, every little boat does count to take out. But you get what I'm saying. Like they're not going to be able to take out a ton of them, but they could take out a few of them while they're just chilling here. And the boost in power they do get. I mean, I know we really don't see the boost in power until next week's episode. I can't really remember how big the boost in power was. I think it is pretty big. Is it like Sozen Comet type of boost? Because you've seen that kind of power boost that Sozen Comet. I mean, well, if you finish Avatar, you know. I mean, you know the power boost they get with the Sozen Comet. I think it's on par with that. It's been so long since I've seen next week's episode, but I guess we'll figure that out next week. But I can't. I guess we'll get into that next week. There's no need to like rack my head around it. We'll get into that next week. But anyway, yeah, they just stop. So we see Aang fly back over to the city, and he lands. Aang isn't really going crazy, but he is beating himself up. He goes, "I can't do this. I can't do this." They're like, "What's the matter?" I took out at least. I took out at least about a dozen of those Fire Nation boats, and there's still so many of them. I just can't do it. Princess Yuri goes, "But you have to. You're the Avatar." He goes, "I'm just one kid." Which is true. I mean, yeah, he is the Avatar, but he still is pretty young, and he can't exactly go into Avatar state instantly right now, and he doesn't really know all the bendings. Like he still is pretty young. It's like all this pressure for a 12-year-old kid. It's a lot. It's a lot. We go over to Zuko, and he has a little dinghy boat he's going to use to infiltrate the water city or the Northern Water Tribe. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to figure out what they call it, the Northern Water Tribe. And Uncle Iroh comes in and he gives him a little piece of wisdom. He goes, whenever you weave a net for fishing, make sure it's tightly woven because even the smallest hole, an octopus can slip right through it. Or not for fishing, but for like octopus hunting. And Zuko says he doesn't really need his wisdom right now. I'm assuming what he's trying to tell Zuko is to make sure you're fully prepared all the way. Because when you go in there, any little mishap could be a really big like downfall for you. You could be killed. So Zuko says he understands this, but he doesn't really need his wisdom. Uncle Iroh says, I know. The only reason I nag you is because ever since I lost my son, you don't have to say it, Uncle. I think of you. I think of you as my own. which is really sad. We do get more into Uncle Iroh's kid next season. Not too much, but we do get a little bit more into him next season, which is really sad what happened to him. And it's sweet that he sees. I mean, obviously he would care for Zuko regardless because he's such a nice guy and that is his nephew. But he just cares for him a lot more because he does see him as his son. And he goes, "I know, Uncle. I feel the same." Well, no, he's sorry. He doesn't say he feels the same way like the father, but he kind of does too. So he gets into a little dinghy boat. He's like reeling it into the water. Now, while he does this, Uncle Iroh tells him to remember his fire breath technique so he can like help himself in the icy tundra because it could save his life. He goes, "Yes, I know, Uncle," and put your hood over your head. Keep your ears warm. I know, Uncle. We go over to Sokka talking to Han, and they're sharpening the axes. Now Han, he's a little bit of a slime ball. He said that he courted a lot of women in his day, which is like this is like a player. Why did the king agree to have this guy like arranged marriage with his daughter if he's a player? Now maybe this guy's family is high ranking, so maybe that's why. But I wouldn't put my daughter together with a player. So he goes, he's been with a lot of women in his day, but Princess Yue, she is beautiful and she's gonna come with a lot of perks. Sokka goes, "What do you mean by perks? I mean, come on, Sokka. She's the chief's daughter. That's to come with something." And Sokka gets really mad. He calls him a few names. And then Han goes, "Well, you're just some southern peasant from the boonies. You wouldn't really understand the political aspects of our arranged marriage." No offense. Obviously, Sokka gets pretty mad about that. He jumps on top of Han, and they start to brawl it out. Now, the chief comes over, breaks up the fight, and tells Sokka that he's off of the mission. And then Sokka looks really mad, obviously. And then Han, he goes, "Come on, men, let's go take out this Admiral Chow. Example Zhao." Like, just, ooh, that mission is gonna go bad, boy. That mission, with him at the helm, like Han, that mission's about to go bad. We go back over to Zuko, and he's on a little dinghy boat. He hides behind the iceberg, thinking about how he's going to get inside the city. But then he sees a bunch of these sea lion turtles jump into a hole in the ice. Now, sea lion turtles, they can't breathe underwater. So if they're going in this hole in the ice where there's a bunch of water, they have to be coming up from air. They have to be coming up for air somewhere, but where? So Zuko jumps into the hole with them, which okay. Part of it is kind of smart. That hole could lead inside of the kingdom, so it can be an easier way to get inside. They have to come up from air, so they have to find some sort of air pocket. But my only thing is number one, the air pocket they could be going to could be pretty small because these sea lion turtles are pretty small, so you might not be able to fit in it. That's number one. Number two, these are wild animals. They could probably hold their breath a ton lot longer than you can. So who knows if you're gonna be able to hold your breath as long as they can to get to wherever they're going. That's pretty bad. But it gets to the hole. After that happens, we go over to Aang, Katara, and Princess Yue looking up at the almost full moon. Now, while they're looking at it, Princess Yue says, legend says that the first waterbender was the moon. Our ancestors saw how the moon pushed and pulled the currents, and they started to do it too. Katara goes, I do feel my waterbending getting slightly stronger at night. Now, I forget, what's it, Princess? Oh, yeah, Princess Yue says the moon spirit gives us strength, and the ocean spirit gives us life. Now, when they're bringing up spirits, that's when Aang goes, that's it. I can talk to the spirits to give us to help us out. Princess Yue goes, what do you mean, Qatar? Well, the Avatar is the bridge between the spirit realm and the human realm, so he could talk to the spirits to help us out somewhat. Now, Princess Yue is assuming that the spirits will give Aang some sort of wisdom to win this battle. Aang goes, yes, or they could give us some sort of huge, spiritual, gigantic ultimate attack to take out the Fire Nation. And they just kind of look at Aang. Or wisdom. Wisdom could work. I mean, based on next episode, I do remember this. I do remember what happens next. Well, I remember a good chunk of next episode, the whole how big the power boost is with the water. I do kind of forget that. I remember it is pretty big, but how big I can't remember. But anyway, with that being said, next week, I mean, they're both kind of right. They do kind of get the wisdom and kind of like, the big power boost things. I mean, they're both kind of right. So Katara goes, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but last time you went to the spirit realm, it was kind of on accident. How you gonna do it this time on purpose? Princess Yue says she has an idea. They walk around the kingdom a little bit, and Princess Yue brings them over to a door in a wall. Now he goes, is the spirit realm behind this wall? No, but this place can't help you probably get to the spirit realm. They walk inside the door, and it brings them to like this what's the word? I guess like a garden. It's not exactly a garden, but like a little bit of a garden. It brings them over to like this huge garden, and there's like a little pond in the garden. And when they get there, it's actually decently hot here. Not like scorching, but it's actually really warm. They're like, how in the world is it warm over here? She said that this is the most spiritual place in all of the North Pole. This is like, well, she doesn't specifically say that this is where a ton of spirit energy comes to, but she does say like, this is like the most spiritual place in the North Pole. Now, when we get over to this garden, like you see, there's like the hole with the pond in it, and there's two koi fish. Those koi fish become a big plot point later on. Now, those koi fish look like the yin and yang. There's one really black koi fish with a little white dot on it, and there's one really wait, did I say that right? Did I? No, I think I said that. Dang it. I don't know if I said there's a black koi fish with some white on it, and there's a white koi fish with some black on it, like the yin and yang. A little bit of good and evil, and a little bit of evil and good. So when we get over there, we get to this really funny scene where not Sokka, what's his name? Momo. Momo puts his hand inside the pond to try to grab one of the koi fish. Now when he does this, he wasn't able to grab it, and then he looks up and then you see Katara and Princess Yui both looking at him, looking really mad. They're a good little duo. They're like their friendship. I really wish they would have interacted a lot more throughout the series. Like, I mean, we know what happens next week, which is really sad. But it's just really cool though. It's like they're a cool little duo. Because they were looking furious, boy. They were looking so mad. And Momo, what are you doing? Look at this. Oh yeah, and Katara takes off her really big like hoodie thing because like they said, it's like kind of hot over here. So does Princess Yue. That was funny. That was funny, boy. What you doing? Get all nervous. So after that happens, we go over to Zuko, and he was able to jump up into a water cave where the sea lion turtles are. Obviously, that boy is freezing. I was like below zero type of water. So he's trying to use his like breath of fire technique to heat himself up. All the sea lion turtles are like barking, and while they're barking, Zuko goes, "Shut up!" And they stop. And they all look at Zuko. And Zuko walks by and he pushes the heads of two of the sea lion turtles like to the side. And then he keeps on walking. And then the sea lion turtles keep barking. After that happens, there's a hole inside of the wall in the cave, and there's a bunch of rushing water coming out of it. So Zuko climbs into the hole. And when he does that, we go over to Sokka. Now the chief says, Sokka, you look kind of sad. He goes, why would it be sad? I mean, I'm all honky dory. I see. Look, Sokka, I have an important mission for you. And oh no, sorry, I messed that up. He goes, Sokka, I have to admit, I took you off of the mission for selfish reasons. I have another mission for you. Well, what is it? I want you to protect my daughter, Princess Yue. What? I mean, I could do that. I could do that. Like, trying to act all nonchalant. So then we go back over to Zuko, and when we go over to Zuko, he's climbing through the hole in the wall, but the water is a down current, so the water is pushing him down. Now he's able to muster himself, more and more through the hole, but it's a bit hard. He's able to find a little air pocket. He gets some more air, and when he does this, he sees another little crevice in a wall, and when he goes underwater. Now, in these kind of scenes, I always thought about them when I was a kid, even now, that if I was in this kind of situation, I don't know how I would get out of it because whenever people are going through these situations like underwater and have to do something, they open up their eyes underwater. I don't normally do it. I always wear goggles if I open my eyes underwater. There has been a few moments where I have done that in the pool when I was a kid, and it kind of hurt my eyes. Now, when I think about it, if I'm in a life or death situation, I might have to open my eyes. But I always thought it will like mess up your eyes, open them up underwater. I don't know why I always thought that. That's why I don't do that normally when I go underwater. I always use goggles. But yeah, I used to think like, what open my eyes? Like I don't know. But in my life or death situation, I'm gonna have to. So Zuko goes into that hole inside the wall. He swims up, and then I guess that if you're deep underwater, I guess this does make sense. If you're deep underwater, all the ice around you will look, super dark. But Zuko sees a bunch of ice that looks super clear, so that means there's the surface right above this ice. So he starts to bang onto the ice. It's too thick to like break through. He's running out of air. He's holding his chest. So then Zuko puts his palms on top of the ice and he starts to heat it up. And he heats it up so much to where he breaks through and he's able to get into the city. He's actually inside the city now. Obviously, he's like, he needs a minute. He needs a minute to recuperate. He's huffing and puffing. He's getting his air back. He nearly drowned. They Then we go back over to Aang, and we hear Princess Yue and Katara whispering off to the side. Princess Yue goes, "So what is he doing? He's meditating. Is there anything we can do to help? And you can be quiet. I need quiet to meditate." After he yells at them, he looks in the pond and he looks at the two koi fish, and they're swimming around in a circle. And he looks at them, and his eyes go white, and he's in pseudo avatar state, but now he's in the spirit realm. Princess Yue starts to go like she starts to freak out a little bit because obviously she never seen this before. She goes, "What just happened? He's in the spirit realm. He'll be okay as long as we don't move his body." I don't know that. Well, never mind. At first, I was gonna say I don't know if that's like a thing to where you can't move their body when they're in the spirit realm, but she does say that this is his anchor to the physical world. So yeah, I guess Aang has to go back to the exact same place in the spirit realm where so he can like go into his body. So okay, that does make sense. I was assuming at first that she means if you touch his body when he's in the spirit realm, it will like disconnect him and then he'll be lost. But no, he has to go back to his body. So when that happens, Princess Yui goes, "Well, so we go get some help?" She goes, "No, I'm here. I'm perfectly capable enough to handle, I mean, to protect him." Then Zuko comes out of nowhere. "Oh, aren't you a big girl?" And they start to fight. I don't know how the heck Zuko found this place. I mean, because, Zuko, when he popped up out the water, he was in like the middle of the city. I don't know how he found this place. But while they're fighting, Zuko's getting the upper hand and Katara's getting the upper hand. That's somewhat of an even fight. But then we get this really cool part to where Katara, she grabs a ton of water and she makes a gigantic ice ball that covers Zuko. Like she traps him inside this giant ice ball, which is crazy. Now Zuko, he's able to bust out of it pretty quickly. He goes, "You little peasant. You found a master, haven't you?" I'm gonna show that scene again because like the Netflix little, timer bar and stuff was in the middle. That's not good. I'm sorry for that. But it was funny though. "You little peasant. You found yourself a master." And that was a cool scene when all like the little water drops were surrounding Qatar. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna show that scene again. 'Cause I'm sorry, I didn't mean for the little Netflix stuff to be all around it. But Zuko's able to bust himself out pretty quickly when that happens. Now, when he busts himself out, they continue to fight. We do get this really cool scene where Zuko gets really close to Katara and almost burns her face, and he almost nearly grabs Aang by the coat collar, but she's able to push him back. Now, then she freezes him again, not in a giant ice ball, but she grabs a ton of water and then freezes him in like a pillar. Yeah, that's the word. In like a pillar of ice, which is really cool. Now, when this happens, we cut over to Admiral Zhao. Actually, let me show the scene really quickly. Whenever she freezes Zuko like the giant spike of ice. I mean, that spike in the giant pillar. Spike in the giant pillar of ice. So we go over to Admiral Zhao and the rest of the waterbenders and they look at the sunrise. They probably, I mean, and it's kind of cool because Master Paku, he was already up. He was standing up looking at the sun, ready for battle. But when this happens, it's daybreak. We rise with the sun. So they start to continue attacking the water city, the water tribe. We see Zuko, he melts the ice and he's able to throw a fireball strong enough to send Katara flying. And my thing is, Katara was walking away from Zuko when this happened. And Zuko says after he knocks her out and grabs Aang that you rise with the moon, but I rise with the sun. So it makes it seem like he was able to melt the ice because of the sun giving him a slight power boost because the sun is like a huge beaming sun today. So I guess firebenders get stronger with the sun and Sozen comment. I mean, all they don't get a Sozen comment type of power boost, but still, it kind of sucks they get two type of power boost. And the Earthbenders don't really get a power boost. I saw a meme that was like, they get a power boost on Earth Day. That's not true. They don't get a power boost on Earth Day. And I saw something else that said waterbend or airbenders get a power boost in like autumn or fall. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did see that somewhere. But my only thing is, like I was saying, let me get back to my main point. It made it seem like he was only able to melt the ice because of the sun. But I mean, if he was able to melt that giant ice ball that he was encapsulated inside of, what makes you think he couldn't melt the ice pillar? And Katara, you just saw him bust out of an ice dome he was like trapped inside of. He should be able to melt this. So why were you walking away from him? I mean, yes, he probably thought that he won, but still, like, come on, you like you did not need to. Well, I would have stayed on Zuko maybe even poured some more water and ice on top of him. I don't know why he did that. I mean, I don't know why he did that. That's a little wonky to me. Let me fix the screen really quickly. So then we cut over to Admiral Zhao. All of his boats are, well, some of his boats able to make it actually onto landfall. So they're coming into the Northern Water Tribe city, starting to attack the waterbenders. We see Katara waking up. Zuko comes in on Appa with Princess Yue. And Sokka goes, hey, where's Aang? Zuko took him. Where did it go? I don't know. Now the camera pans upwards, and then we see, excuse me, the camera pans upwards and we see Zuko carrying Aang behind them because we see like a huge ice wall behind where Katara and Sokka are, and then on top of the ice wall is like a tundra, snowy land. So that's where they are. So Zuko's grabbing onto Aang while holding Aang, like giving him a piggyback ride, and walking in like this tundra, icy land. And then that's the end of the episode. Really good episode, man. The next episode only gets better. It gets even crazier next episode. But that's this week's episode. Can't wait. This is a really good two-parter, man. This is a really good two-parter. So like, share, and subscribe. I see you all later. Thank you all for watching. I thank you all out of me, woman, human beings, and I see you guys next time. All right. Bye bye. Oh wait, I forgot to. I keep forgetting I'm supposed to show something from the screen. I keep forgetting to I don't know why I keep forgetting that every single time. Okay, let me find something really quickly. Actually, I'll solo being mad at Momo again, and I am gonna sort the Koi Fish next episode because since they do play a bigger role, but I'll just show the girls being mad at Momo again. Okay, bye bye. And also, hey, future me, I'm in Boston. It's been so long since I've been in Boston. I'm in Boston.